Beware Article 5, Part 2 of 4. An FOAVC Rebuttal. We at FOAVC offer this rebuttal to this John Birch Society propaganda video. Unlike JBS, our statements are verifiable fact. The Phony Burger Letter. To support its claims that a convention would do the nation great harm, the John Birch Society often cites a letter supposedly written by former Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Warren E. Burger. According to Wikipedia, Burger's papers, including this so-called letter, are conveniently locked up until 2026, meaning there is no way to conclusively prove the letter is real.
Chief Justice of the United States Warren Burger wrote, quote, "I have also repeatedly given my opinion that there is no effective way to limit or muzzle the actions of a constitutional convention. The convention could make its own rules and set its own agenda. Congress might try to limit the convention to one amendment or to one issue, but there is no way to assure that the convention would obey. After a convention is convened, it will be too late to stop the convention if we don't like its agenda." Ending of quote. Chief Justice Burger has issued a stern warning. Nobody tells a con what to do. Its powers to propose amendments are unlimited. In light of this information, does America, do you really want to risk a convention? As we will explore later, the risk of a convention is far greater than commonly understood. Chief Justice Burger continues saying, quote, "Whatever gain might be hoped for from a new constitutional convention could not be worth the risk involved. A new convention could plunge our nation into constitutional confusion and confrontation at every turn, with no assurance that focus would be on the subject needing attention. I have discouraged the idea of a constitutional convention, and I am glad to see states rescinding their previous resolutions requesting a convention. In these bicentennial years, we should be celebrating its long life, not challenging its very existence." Ending the quote. How great is the risk of a convention, either intended or inadvertent? At one point in time, 32 of the required 34 states had applied to call a convention.
According to the website sweetliberty.com, this so-called Burger letter was sent to Phyllis Schlafly, founder of the Eagle Forum. The site states that by 1983, 32 states had applied for a convention. This is not true. The congressional record shows all 50 states have applied over 650 times for a convention. The congressional record also shows by 1983, 34 states had applied for the amendment issue of a balanced budget. This means on the issue of a balanced budget amendment alone, Congress is obligated to call an Article 5 convention. The congressional record can be read at the following website address: foavc.org/file.php/1/amendments/index.htm. In order to oppose the convention, John Birch political strategist Doug Kelly brought political pressure on Mrs. Schlafly, the supposed recipient of the Burger letter. According to the website, Doug Kelly, not Mrs. Schlafly, gave the letter to the website.
If the letter is authentic, why is its source, Doug Kelly, a political operative bent on forcing Mrs. Schlafly into a political stance she did not favor, instead of Mrs. Schlafly herself?
This so-called Burger letter has been used by many opponents to an Article 5 convention who have stated the letter was written by Justice Burger. For example, in a January 12, 2009 column published in CanadaFreePress.com by Tom DeWeese, president of the American Policy Center, he states the letter was, quote, from former Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger, written in 1983, to Eagle Forum President Phyllis Schlafly, unquote. The letter shows the sending date as June 22, 1983, and clearly shows Justice Burger as retired. It mentions Burger being chairman of a commission that didn't exist until 1985. Supreme Court records show Justice Burger served on the court from 1969 to 1986. Therefore, Justice Burger was not retired in 1983. The letter says Justice Burger spoke on the issue of a convention many times. It is unlikely Burger would have spoken publicly on an issue that was before the court that year. Now v. State of Idaho, 459 U.S. 809, 1982, as this would have violated rules of ethics. Justice Burger states there is no way to control the agenda of a convention. Fact: no amendment proposal can take effect without ratification. This effectively controls the agenda of a convention. Would a Supreme Court justice show that kind of ignorance about the Constitution? Burger perpetuates a popular myth about the 1787 convention, that it acted on its own initiative to draft the Constitution. It is unlikely Burger would have misstated an easily checked public record. The February 2, 1787 convention call by Congress, which clearly states the 1787 convention was authorized to make whatever alterations it felt necessary to the federal Constitution. Burger mentions state rescissions in 1983. The public record is clear. There is no record of any state rescission in 1983. The list of applications can be read at www.foavc.org.